Yo, what up? It's your girl AMAC here, and today I want to talk to you guys about parallel processing. I feel like people talk about parallel compression a lot, but you can parallel any kind of processing that you can do in audio. In fact, when you send out to a reverb bus, that's parallel processing because all you're doing is duplicating a signal and then mixing it together. And the definition of parallel refers to a processing technique where two or more audio signals are combined or processed simultaneously. It involves splitting an audio signal into multiple parallel paths, applying different processing to each path, and then mixing the processed signals back together. The purpose of parallel processing is to achieve a desired sonic effect or enhance certain aspects of the audio signal. In this video, I'm going to show you guys a few ways that I use parallel processing and a few ways to do it. And if you stick around till the end, I might even show you guys my secret parallel sauce that I use on pretty much every single mix that I do. And it's a pretty big reason for my sound. And with saying that, hope you guys stick around. Let's get right into it.
Hey, back on the mix. Ugh.
All right, guys, so here's a session that I already have mixed. I'm just going to kind of go around, show you guys where I'm using some parallel stuff, and some of it is going to be parallel compression because I do love it. And a few different techniques and a few different reasons why you might do something. The first thing I want to show you is parallel processing by duplicating a track, and I'm going to use this bass right here. Okay, so sometimes with an 808 or a bass like this, you might actually want to split the signal up into two or more frequency ranges and then mix them together. 808s like this take up a huge amount of space in the frequency spectrum, so yeah, sometimes you just need a little less or a little more of something in the mix. So let's show you how to do that. First, I'm just going to duplicate the track. And I've already got these EQs up here. And what I'm going to do, so this top one will be my low 808. And we'll take that down. I usually take it down to like 200. I'm going to keep a pretty easy slope on this. And then what I like to do is just duplicate or copy the plugin. So I know exactly the point where I stopped it when I kind of make this other one. So now this high pass filter, low pass filter on the other one. These are my lows, these are my highs, and when I play it, we have a little overlapping going on because I don't have the slopes like really hard, but mostly that's still the same signal. Now what I could do is add decapitator on here. And let's see what that does. Add it back together. So now I could just turn that down, or I could just have left it like that, still mixing it back together. Whether you're leaving it the same level is the same thing. You're just processing the same thing differently and then deciding how you want to mix it in. So I could turn it down. Or vice versa on this track, really. But another thing to do is that maybe I didn't need to actually split the signal up. Maybe I just needed to add some more upper harmonics, which is what I would be doing here. So let's listen to what this sounds like by itself. And then I could just be adding that, mixing that in with the complete original signal, because maybe I just need a different texture. Maybe I just needed some upper harmonics, upper frequencies that I didn't have previously. So let's listen to it together. Cool. So that's a dope way to use parallel processing with your 808s. You could do this with any instrument. You could do this with your synths. I mean, you could do this with a snare if you wanted to. If it's a snare that's got a lot of lows and a lot of highs and you just want to even them out a little better, that's parallel processing. Whether it's just EQing, whether it's just compressing, whether it's just saturation, whether it's just reverb, which I'll show you in a little bit. You're just paralleling a process. You guys get it. I'll move on to another technique. So let's get rid of this. So now I'll show you guys what I do with my drums. And I'm going to give you a visual of how this is working once I explain a little bit. So this right here. This is my drum bus. And let's listen to them without the parallel. Okay, cool. Those are my drums. Now I have a send here to bus 1314, which is my drum parallel here. Let's open it and see what we're doing. I'm sure I'm crushing it. Cool, yeah, I'm going to like -10 on the SSL bus compressor. And if I'm being honest, that's pretty light for me. Usually going a little crazier. I usually like to slap it up there somewhere between -12 and -16. But this is what must have worked for this mix. Now let's mix it in and see what it does. So for me, it just brings the drums alive a little bit. It just kind of puts a little push in the back of it. And it's that thing that you really like about compression. And I think that's a reason why people tend to over compress sometimes, is because there's a lot of really good stuff that happens when you do that. But then you're losing all of your dynamics. And I definitely don't want to lose my dynamics and my transients in my drums. So I want to get what I really like about compression out of it and put it behind all of my dynamics and transients. And that's why parallel processing is so cool. Even if you were doing this again with a saturator or however you wanted to do it, you're just able to mix these different signals together to take up the space that you want in the mix, or push something just a little bit forward, but you're still able to keep the original, flow and signal of it all. So what I wanted to show you as a visual cue was I'm going to commit my drum bus, because this is what's happening, right? So when I commit this, I'm going to have duplicated my drum bus signal, which is what sending it to the aux is actually doing. So instead of having this parallel compression aux, I could just take this compressor and put it on this duplicated track, and the exact same effect is happening. Of course, I had to make sure I turned it down and was actually mixing it in. Otherwise, that's much louder than it was when you first heard it. But now that I turned it down to 14.5, it's the same. So yeah, I just wanted to do that to show you a visual cue of what's happening when you send something to an aux. Now, I don't want to do this because if I'm in the middle of my mix, I might be changing up the balance. I might end up putting, other plugins on here and changing the things. When it's going to the aux, that just means that those changes are happening and the parallel is accepting them and they're working together. If I didn't do that and I just committed it and then I changed it, I'd either have to commit it again, or then it would just be different, which, maybe that would be cool, that I wanted to just compress the signal that I had in the middle of my mix to what I have now. Who knows why I might use that? But that's just, me as an engineer, and there being a million possibilities and nothing is ever against the rules. So let's talk a little bit about the reverb. Because like I said, that's a parallel. So my reverb down here, this is really just for my vocals. Let me see if I could just grab a vocal here, solo it.
But now I don't need your love,
Dry signal.
because I don't need your love, don't need your.
Parallel processing, parallel reverb, parallel eighth note delay. That's what we're doing here. And I can show you the same thing that I just did with the drum bus. I can commit this reverb track. And then if I mute my aux, I'm just mixing, like this is full on reverb because my reverb here is at 100% mix, so it's full wet. And then I'm just mixing it together.
But now I don't need your love.
You know, in this instance, when I'm showing you that, there are other things that are going to this reverb so you can hear them and not just the lead vocal that I had soloed. But again, that's why you would use the aux instead of, you know, committing and duplicating the signal. I'm just showing this to you. I mean, I could take this and then I could go crazy and parallel it, and I could put some crazy stuff and mix it in if I wanted to too. All the possibilities are so endless. I love being an audio engineer. Like, right? I could do this. I could do this with another aux too. Like, I don't have to do it with this doubled or this committed reverb. But like, let's see now. Oh, that's crazy. Let me go to this.
But now I don't need your love, because I don't need your.
Okay, I apologize. That was like not the most sonically pleasing sound that I've ever put on my YouTube channel or done in general. But just so you can see, like, it's like, all right, so because the parallel processing doesn't have to end with one track. It can be 3 tracks, it could be 4 tracks going together, which I'm going to show you in a little bit when I get to my sauce. But before I do that, I want to show you, let's just do some like random cool stuff. So I'm going to duplicate these keys, and again, could have thrown it to an aux, don't want to. And I'm going to just pull up Little Altar Boy. And let's solo these guys. Let's see what happens. Okay, you get it. Super fun stuff. But see how that added such like a cool new texture to it and something, and now this might not be something that you can necessarily add to a mix depending on the producer and stuff like that. But also it might just add a texture. I could have turned that down so low, but it had a feeling, right? And parallel processing is so good for taking up space or creating something in the frequency spectrum that maybe you're lacking in the mix and makes it feel like not together. You can create this stuff by trying a multitude of different processing techniques and then mixing it together. I mean, even with my reverb, like I use that so much to take up like a space in between the vocals and the rest of the instruments, and that really glues a lot of stuff together for me. Or just like with the 808, if you just need more upper harmonics to shine through, to give it a different texture to add to your mix. That's why parallel processing is so important. So on that note, let's get to the AMAX sauce that I promised you guys. And my mixing parallel comp. Also in this, I do want to note I am doing some parallel vocals as well as the drums before I even get to what I'm about to do. So what's going to my parallel compression bus here? My all vocals are going, and my all instruments are going as well. So my all instruments, well, it's just called instrument, but it is all instruments, is right here, and that's going. And what that is my bass and all of the rest of the instruments, anything that I am not considering a drum is in here. And yeah, so the vocals and the instruments are going together. But as you saw, I paralleled the drums by themselves, but I do not send them to this bus. I found, so let me show you real quick the plugins that I have on here. I compress first, and then I have this smiley face EQ. Why do I have the smiley face EQ? So when I first started doing this, I sent everything here. I was basically duplicating the entire mix and mixing it together and compressing it and mixing it together, right? But I found that made it really boxy, and I found that it just kind of took some transients away from my drums. So that's why I separated them. And because of the mid-range that I felt built up, I wanted to cut a bunch of it out, but I liked what it did to the low end, and I like what it did to the high end. I don't know if this was right when we're going to be looking at the camera of low end to high end, right? But anyway, I liked what it was doing to those more, and then still the middle of the mix, but I just needed less. So I created this smiley face EQ, and I think you guys are really going to be able to hear when I go in and out what this is doing, and it just glues the mix together in a way. This is a huge part of my sound. Please try it. I don't know anyone else who does it. There could be somebody. If you're out there, let me know. I'd love to talk to you. So my all vocal bus and my all instrument bus are going here. The whole mix minus the drums. Let's start with it just being off.
Because I don't need your love, don't need love. Because I don't need your love. You played a wicked game, cruel how you are entertained. First you said that you like me, then you iced me, now you out with your wifey, dang.
I hope you guys are wearing headphones or listening into your studio so you can hear what that does. It's not like some drastic thing, but it is a feeling. It brings the mix together. It glues it. I'm not always good at explaining things with words, but with my hands, this is what's happening in the mix. But it's just really something that glues it together. It makes it feel really tight to me. It makes it hit my chest better, and when I'm mixing, I care a lot about that. So yeah, I would just encourage you guys to try parallel processing. It's like your best option to just mess around with plugins and like really, really mess up the audio signal and see if it can possibly make sense in your mix. And then of course, sometimes do it with the idea of what you want to do and just not messing with your plugins. But these are a few ways that I do it, and I hope you guys try it. I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you guys soon. That's all I got today. Peace.